Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation, along with
CJ Lou from the Fired Up with CJ show.
Woohoo! You've made it at least 10 seconds without cracking up. If you've ever wanted to shift your life, discover what you're made of, and rocket towards your dreams, then do we have the Deconstruction show for you. Today we'll be talk about deconstructing our lives and tearing things down in order to build something better. That plus we'll talk about the power of vulnerability, presentation madness, starting new books, home hunting patience, 562 days of change, and what in the world a miracle weekend has to do with anything. So welcome back to the show, CJ. Are you ready to shine?
I am ready to shine. Woohoo!
Woohoo! And you're holding and shaking crystals in your hand. Are you trying to ground yourself right now?
You did something to me. I was totally grounded just moments ago. Something happened. I'm not sure what. It's you. That's the only thing I can imagine because you showed up on the show and now I'm completely ungrounded and laughing and giggling all the time.
Well, in my own defense beforehand, I was saying take some deep breaths. Nice, slow, calm. I even showed Nuts the squirrel taking some deep breaths.
Okay, so I just want to know what's on your table. Why do you have a squirrel, hot sauce, crystals? What's on your table?
Well, the squirrel is to remind myself to stay in a place like childlike joy. And so the squirrel stays with me. I've got my crystal here that I tend to hold in my hands because I use it as kind of a tool for presence. It used to be running through beads. Now it's been this crystal over recent years of sending love to whomever I'm speaking with. And when I'm saying I send love, it helps me to stay more present. So I'm not going, oh, what's the next appointment? Oh, when do I have this? Instead, I'm staying fully present and I am working to connect on a deeper soul level with my guest.
Right.
The hot sauce, Jessica occasionally feeds me, which is fantastic when I'm stuck at my perch. And I tend to run cold, so I've always got some hot sauce on the ready so that I can turn any dish into some liquid fire. And so it's a pretty clear desk other than that. I have my passport apparently in case I need to skip out of town or something. But other than that, it's fairly clear. I've got
And what's your hot sauce? Because you like stuff super hot. So this is like you take normal things like you have a granola bar, you throw hot sauce on it. Like what?
This one's just jalapeno sauce. I do prefer habanero, but I have been at points hot sauce connoisseur, but it can get really the good habaneros one can get really up there at price. And so right now I'm just get to Trader Joe's, grab some habanero, call it good. And also I watch my stomach because my stomach can handle a lot of heat, but it depends what I'm eating and what quantity, so I don't want to overdo it and kind of torch the stomach. With that said, in moderation, particularly for a Vata body type, according to Ayurvedic medicine, and that can actually be really good for you, very healing and help boost the immune system.
Really? If you're Vata, actually eating hot food can help you.
Yes, can help calm you down.
Really? That's weird. Yeah. So actually being on, because the other day it was sunny in Seattle and it was probably 55 degrees and I was sweating, like profusely sweating. And I thought, oh my gosh,
that's your Pitta nature.
Hot. Yeah, it was just super, super hot. But is that because if you're Pitta, which is we're talking about the three doshas, constitutions from Ayurvedic medicine. So it's Pitta, Vata, and Kosha. Kosha? No, Kapha.
Yeah.
And so those are your three doshas. So if you're Pitta, which is fire, and you've got to be Vata, which is air. Are you Pitta Vata?
I'm Vata Pitta. So my nature is first I'm a little bit windy or cold running, which is incredibly high energy. Then you have Pitta, so that's my secondary one. That's this fiery constitution that has this ability to just keep going and keep going and keep going. Your best athletes are often a Pitta type because it has more focus than the Vata, which is squirrel nature. But the Pitta...
So will you eat the hot sauce for what? Vata or Pitta?
For the Vata. For Pitta, it would throw Pitta out of balance because Pitta is fire. It means your constitution is already running very warm. And so if you add warm to warm, you're going to throw things out of balance. But if you add warm to cold, which means ideally a Vata shouldn't be, I hate the word shouldn't, but ideally is not in a cold, windy climate because they have a cold, windy nature. It throws that out of balance. So adding warmth can be more stabilizing, can help bring you some focus, and can actually be calming. Now, anything can be taken to an extreme and throw things way out of balance. I have tried to do that with hot sauce. But with that said, in moderation, it can help bring you back into balance. So it's calming, it's focus, it boosts my immune system. It certainly has the benefit, at least with a Vata type, of helping your metabolism. Not that all Vatas need it, but if you're sitting on a perch too long, it can certainly help with that. And then I'm a little bit, not actually this year. In the past, I was definitely a bit of an addict to hot sauce. Now, I love it, but I don't need it. But I do prefer it to give myself a boost, particularly in the winter months. It's interesting. In the summertime, I tend to shy away from it, and particularly during midday hours, because your body has an internal flame for digestion to it. In the morning, that flame is really low. That's why we have a hard time digesting things. It's why we're slow and sluggish. Hot sauce is really good. Midday, the fire is burning bright. You can digest almost anything. Probably not the time to put the hot sauce in, or you can have heartburn because you've got too much heat going on in there. So in the summertime, I watch when I have it, or I may even say, it's so hot out. Give me the raw foods. Give me the cooling foods. I don't want to touch the hot sauce for a while.
Wow. So you really are thinking about Ayurvedic medicine when you're eating.
Always. Not that I'm always successful with it, but I'm at least have an awareness of it. So I guess there's one other thing on my desk here. I haven't actually opened it, but it is curry powder here.
You're so strange.
And that has in it one of my favorite things, which is it has both cumin and turmeric, which are natural anti-inflammatories. And so all of the foods I eat, I look at what are the medicinal properties. As Hippocrates said, let food be thy medicine. And so if you want to stay happy, it's not a matter of chasing away symptoms. It's what can you do to use your food to boost your energy levels, to boost your health.
Right. So what do you put curry on? I might just imagine Greek yogurt and curry on there. I don't know.
Oh God! Well, I wouldn't have Greek yogurt for one thing. So I tend to be fairly vegan, although Jessica sneaks in a little bit of ghee in my food now and again. But with that said, I make a lot of meals with basically every vegetable under the sun thrown into a vat. They're not, to me, they taste awesome. Jessica would probably mildly disagree, but I'll take some kale, some spinach, some broccoli, maybe a little bit of corn, some peas, carrots, red bell peppers, all the peppers I can get my hands on, onion, garlic, who knows what, mixed with maybe a little bit of organic refried beans or black beans, or maybe a little bit of potato. Mix that all up, and then let's add some turmeric to that, or some cumin to it, or the curry powder to it. Right. So you get a meal that's both robust in flavors, all the colors of the rainbow, and each color has different nutritional qualities for you. And then I load it up with good antioxidant goodness.
Oh, good. You're so good. Okay, I'm adding light because my lights just went off. I forgot about this. Bring on the light.
Let there be light.
Wow, interesting. Okay, so what's been going on with you that you are focusing on? What did you say? The art of
we've got several
tearing
things going
down.
on. So,
what did you say?
Today I wanted to talk about deconstructing things. So this is a time of major change for the show, minor change. So we're going to a 5-day-a-week show for spring and for summer, although summer might even go a little bit less. We'll see how that goes. First off, for people who listened to last week's show, I will still be thoroughly reading the books. Do not worry, that's my trademark. I love to dive deep in the books because we've been getting comments from people going, Michael, that's your thing. You read the whole books. The guests appreciate from you. Don't worry. That's my gift to you, and my gift to them is I'll keep my.
You mean after our last week's show, people were worried about that. They wrote you saying, Michael, don't do that.
Yes, exactly. So,
Interesting.
and that's my commitment because that's what kind of makes our show unique is how crazy deep I go into each one of the books.
Yeah.
But I get so much out of it. For me, it's about going back to school. Each day that I air a show, like this morning, a beautiful book on pause, harnessing the life-changing power of giving yourself a break. And
Mm-hmm.
whether I'm consciously taking it in or unconsciously, it's helping retrain and reprogram me every single book, as it is for you as well. And
Yeah.
so I'm committed to that deep dive. With
Mm-hmm.
that said, I'm not committed to a seven day, what was it, 562 day in a row deep dive, because that isn't the pause
Right.
that we need for both self-care to write our books and everything coming forward. So starting today, we're recording this on a Friday, and we have our schedule planned out. So tonight I have time for my upload and this, that, and the other thing. And I was downstairs in between interviews with Jessica, she made me these divine organic vegan cinnamon pretzels.
Mm.
She just out of nowhere, she had me close my eyes this morning. She goes, "Smell that." I'm like, if I wasn't mistaken, I'd say that's a cinnamon bun. And it was a cinnamon pretzel, or maybe even an apple cinnamon pretzel. So it was
Nice.
so cool. So we're enjoying that. And I said, it's interesting. We got in the schedule for the upload tonight. We don't have an upload tonight. This is our first weekend where we're not putting up shows in 562 shows.
Oh my gosh, Michael.
It
Wow.
is crazy. And so we are pulling out some of the foundation, not in a bound way, not making totally unstable, but we're deconstructing things so we
Wow.
can build something new. And
Right.
this is
Build a
coming because of
life. Yeah.
moving.
Have a life during the weekend.
Yeah, we're going to have our weekend for ourselves. That's going to give us time. That was something I called a miracle weekend. It's going to give us time to kind of I'll call it pulling on the golden thread. I used to call it pulling on the strings of the sweater. Now I've decided something more spiritual. Call it the golden thread. And so we're
Yeah.
going to pull on that golden thread and see where it gets us and look at all of our limiting beliefs. We started this week looking at the calendar and saying what gets changed where. And this is sacrilege stuff. This is the stuff that's been working for us so well, but being willing to pull that apart to see what we can build better and challenging each belief. You need to have this much space between this and this, and what goes where. We're doing all this both so that we can find the time to move, so that we can have a family. I really want. It's a beautiful challenge, and I'm enjoying it so much to figure out how we can get more space, more time for ourselves through this process.
Mm.
And I am in a chomping at the bit to write mode extraordinaire. And we may go there
Mm.
in a minute. And so when you focus on what's your one thing or even your two or your three things, what are the top priorities, deconstructing our schedule and our time commitments and rebuilding that becomes incredibly important. And so this has been a time at looking at all areas, particularly with moving. Moving is a deconstruction. If you started a new job, that's a deconstruction and building back. But all these things, even though they're real uncomfortable in the moment, to say the least, can be incredibly positive in the long run or even in the not too distant long run. Like Jessica is super excited. She's going, you may have been able to keep up with 7 days a week,
Right.
but it's hard on our whole team. And so this is going to be a giant
Yay. Well, it's funny because then a week from this coming Monday, we'll have someone basically demolishing our entire garage
deconstructing.
and back. And it's been slow. I told you how a couple weeks ago they pulled out all the plants, and it was really distressing for me because I literally could feel, I think, I didn't understand it, but
That'd
now
be
I can
hard for me.
understand. Yeah, I could feel the energy of the plants because they pulled out the fence and I didn't feel anything. But it was really the plants. And then I think I found a home for all the plants except for one. And so two, I think. And they massively pulled out all the plants. So I was pretty happy about that. But it was interesting finding a home for those displaced things and being at peace with wherever things get replanted, right? I mean, I went through that same experience and I'm still going through it. They ripped down our fence. And then this weekend they're taking off our entire brick patio. It's going to be gone and moved to the front of our house. So it's, so it's right. This is actually a physical manifestation of the things that you're probably going through internally, right? Like it used to be here, now it's over here. And it's an adjustment, right? It's an adjustment and a change, and hopefully for the better. But all these things, I think that one of the things that happens during transition that I forget each time, and then I have to remind myself each time, is that when you actually reorder things, literally like my backyard is moving to the front of my house, it's like it's disorienting. And when that disorientation happens, you literally have to orient yourself again and integrate your life based on these new configurations, all of which will be wonderful for you because you're buying time and creating space. And I think that when you're going through lots of transitions, I think we often forget the reason why we feel so confused and lost and all those things. It's just because we literally are doing those things. We're moving our backyard to our front yard. And now when we come in, we see our backyard and it's like, what? But I think that that's one thing for other people who are going through transitions. That's my only tip, is that make time. Give yourself a break, because there's a lot of integration and disorientation that happens, and it's normal and it's okay and it's understandable.
There's so many directions to go with this. One of them, I'm thinking back when we were on Maui and the home where we had these giant hedges around the property, and the landlord at one point, unbeknownst to us, completely whacked the top off of these things.
Oh.
And it completely changed everything. And at first we were just sick to our stomach, beside ourselves. Then once we had a chance to step back and kind of breathe into it, well, the hedges are as the hedges are. Oh, wow. We got a better view of the ocean.
Oh, how funny.
We didn't because the ocean's still miles below us. We're up on the side of Haleakala, up on the side of the volcano. But you had a better view of the both the north and south side of the island, the ocean on both sides, from having the hedges thwacked away. So at first you're attached to how it's been. That was my comfort zone. I had my hedges. I had my protection, so to speak. And then that gets taken away. And if you can kind of surrender into it, something better may appear.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think that's the hardest thing. That's a perfect way of saying it's like surrendering into it and knowing that, having faith that something really wonderful will occur as you integrate and assimilate and, digest all the different changes. So, because you're about to walk into that.
Absolutely. The one other piece to add to it is we're creatures of habit. When our habit pulled away from us, it's some sense of security, of our Maslow's hierarchy, something important that's taken away. And so I feel we need time to grieve in the integration process. So we need to mourn what is lost before we go, okay, we've changed everything right now. Let's go right straight ahead into the next thing. Got to put that pause button in there so that you can, I think it's literally a loss. And you have to be with that loss and work through it before you're saying, okay, now let's step on the gas. Or else now you've got a shadow of the past coming with you and you're trying to build something on top of your shadow.
Yeah. So what would that look like for you? I'm as I'm listening to that and agreeing with that, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to thank the basketball court that has been serving our backyard for a while. And we have hundreds of games that we played of basketball with our boys. And so it's like, bye, celebrating and saying thank you for being our wonderful basketball court. We've had so much fun as a family, and now they're moving to the next stage of our family, which is having you come back from college and visit, and we probably aren't going to play basketball anymore. It's like that part of our life is going, and kind of celebrating it. Or thank you, garage that stored my bike and all, it served as a nice place for all the things that we didn't know what to do with. I think that's what it would look like for me. What does it look like for you if you were to celebrate and say, have a closing ritual.
A closing ritual I get to think about. That's an excellent point. I hadn't thought of what a powerful closing ritual is. I'm so excited to get into our book that I have to watch to make sure I don't try to fill all time with it. I don't think I will. I think I will give myself more space, more time to step back. And I think that's the most important thing I can do is not try to fill all that time with the other stuff and say, "Oh
Right.
wow, we've got more website development time we can put in here.
Right.
We've got more newsletter, whatever it is, all those things being great. This is a time where we get to fill it with ourselves.
Right.
And there's an idea I can't quite see how to do it yet with the book writing. But I would like to get at the idea of, and with the guest earlier today, Rachel, she was talking about, another author who talks about a technology Shabbat from Friday night until Sunday morning to being off of tech. Now, writing a book, I can't quite do that, but can I take that time from Friday night to Sunday and do nothing show related? I think
Mm,
that would be really cool. I was thinking of trying it this weekend, but Jessica, she asked, can we record a show together tomorrow? And she hasn't done that in, I think, 3 or 4 weeks. And
right.
so when she says, can we record a show? I go, yes, that's the correct answer. Yes, when would you like that to be?
Right.
Okay, we will make that work. But other than that, I want to step back. I don't need to be checking my numbers over the weekend. I don't need to see how my shows are doing. Do I need to tweak the title? Do we need to blah, blah, blah? And so I want to work to not fill that time. And that could be interesting. I could
Mm-hmm.
get, I don't know yet, into a squirrely place of if I'm not doing right now because it's been a while since I've had that much non-doing time, is something wrong? Is there something I'm
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be doing? I need to be doing right now. And so that'll
Mm-hmm.
be interesting to watch for. I do build space into my day, get out into nature all the time, but even that is fairly structured. And so if I have a little bit of breathing time, it'll be interesting to see where ego and wiring tries to go.
Yeah, and I think that the interesting thing about when you create space is that we often don't realize that it's you've had momentum, 100 miles per hour, and then a follow, like that's what it feels like. There's this
Oh gosh.
dissonance. You know what I? No, honestly, like I feel like you're spinning at a really fast pace, and then at first it's like, oh, thank God, and then you slow down, but you're still kind of your wiring is wired to go at 100 miles per hour, and so it's what I find helpful is to like do something like a meditation retreat or so it's something like a doing thing, but it's a doing thing that's about being, but structured things that are about being, if that makes sense. Because otherwise the website and all those other things kind of fill in, for me at least, that's what happens. If I don't have okay, this is structured time to do nothing. But what happens for me is I fill it in with all the other stuff that's been sitting around that I have ignored as a result of doing my being for a short period of time or obsessively doing for a long period of time.
The
So I don't know.
biggies.
I think it's like a deceleration path so that you don't crash and burn, but that you're kind of like slowly on going down you know what I mean? Getting the foot off the gas pedal slowly.
The two things that I've been working on for replacement, and Jessica actually pointed this out a couple of days ago, and I was so happy that she did. I didn't tell her that, but told it to thousands around the world, but not Jessica. Was first off, I'm trying to give her more TLC right now, and our
Hmm.
kitties more TLC, and so any break there is, I am in such a huge place of gratitude and love for
Hmm.
her and appreciation that I'm trying to give her more and more love and more massages or whatever she needs. And so where there's a break, when there's an opportunity, rather than diving into my work, I'm trying to take the time with her because she has stood by my side so much and I am a not from an ego point of view, but I'm a powerhouse. I'm a locomotive that just
Hmm.
keeps going, and it's it's
Right.
it's hard to keep going with the keep goiner.
Right.
And so I really want to show her that love and appreciation. And while I'm thinking kids, I'm thinking I want to be there for every aspect of my child's life, and I want to learn how to be a better family man. I'm not a bad one, but I want to be that I want to come first. And right now that hasn't because of the show. And so that's the big fill-in that I'm going for. The second one is the automatic writing. How much more time can I spend to learn about me on a spiritual level, on an intuitive level, and dive into that? So rather than fill in the gaps with Blockbuster, does Blockbuster still exist? With
Doesn't.
with Netflix, that goes shows. Whatever, that I instead either dive deep into myself and my spiritual journey and every aspect of that, or dive deep into my family side of things. And if I do that, that may fill some time, but I don't think it will be either the crash and burn or the repeating of an old habit of what I call igginess. I got to go. I got to be doing something.
Right. It's just actually basically coming up with, it's what we talked about last week, which is to come up with the vision for what you want and making sure that when you create space, that you're actually doing with that space stuff that you really want at a heart level versus at a head level. I think that's so part of it may be writing your book, it sounds like. And then how's your house hunting?
House hunting is quiet at the moment. We know we have a place starting mid-September down on Emerald Isle. We know we'd like to be there about May 1st. The place hasn't appeared yet that we know of for May 1st. There's a part of me that wants to call every realtor down there and knock on every single door. That would be the old school Michael way. That's gotten me book deals and who knows what. The pound the pavement, I will make this happen. And there's the other part of me that says let go and it's going to appear. And somewhere in between may be the truth, the two-step dance. And so I'm looking but trying not to look too hard and hoping that the right thing appears, but while still trying to move forward on it.
Okay, I have a question for you because I had something very similar happen to me. You brought up a concept that I don't have an answer for, but that I'm thinking about lately, which is that there's female energy, which is about receptive, waiting, surrender, and male energy, which is about directive, driving, moving forward. And so there's this tension between the two that I'm feeling lately because there's a part of me. So I had a presentation on Tuesday, and before the presentation, I was driving and putting together PowerPoints and trying to structure things to make sure it was linear. And then when Tuesday arrived, I did a meditation and I was just opening and allowing whatever happened to occur. And the thing that I was contemplating is I look at the driving PowerPoint, moving forward, like calling, you knocking on the door, you going and getting book deal signed. And I think to myself, well, is that my ego or is that a male drive that is inherent in me that is spirit leading me to do that? And I don't know the answer to that. And I don't know how I figure. I mean, I think the way that I could say is this driven by fear? The PowerPoints weren't driven by fear. It's just driven by like desire to get the information out there. Yeah. That's the only way I can tell. But how do you know? So is your in the instance of finding a place between May and September, is it about being receptive to whatever? How do you hold both of these energies in its right place and not take this energy, which in a lot of spiritual texts is like the drive, the passion, the need to go out and do, versus be, and they kind of demnify it and they put a big label on it, ego. Do not do. That's at least what I was thinking about. It's like, well, it seems like a lot of spiritual practices look at that and say that's bad. But I don't know if that's, I guess what started happening for me this week is questioning, like, is it bad? Or is this just an expression of male energy that is good, right? I mean, it's a balance. What do you think?
Flow and fear are the two things that come up. First off, flow. If I'm having to knock on 100 doors, is that really flowing? Should it be that difficult? Is that truly necessary? And asking that question. Or is this fear? I'm afraid that a place won't come up before the summer season when everybody wants to go to the beach. I'm afraid of a lack. And if it's coming from that fear point of view, I probably want to back off. And so I'm trying to understand, where am I coming from in doing this? If I'm relaxed and making a bunch of calls and that seems like the right thing, that for me probably is coming from a good place. If I got to make these calls right away, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find a place. I guess I can sense the energetic footprint behind that. Then it's probably time to back off, because if I go in that mode, I will find a place. Oh, by God, I will find a place.
Right.
That's a problem. Because
it may not be the best place for your highest good. Is that what you mean?
It is so easy with my type to push water or push the boulder temporarily up the hill. Come hell or high water, I will get to boulder to the top. But at some point you get stuck and you might trip and stumble, and then the boulder comes chasing back after you or running right over the top of you.
That's a perfect visual image. Yeah.
Because you're pushing the boulder uphill. We know I've had, 2 near-death experiences, so many other broken bones and God knows what. And we've had business successes and business failures as well. And all of the times that we've been thwacked, every single one was a, I will slay the dragon. I will do this. I will be the martyr. I will push through no matter what. And so now I think we have the woot, 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 the alarm that goes off whenever I want to go.
So you get the emergency vehicle backing up.
Yes. Woot, woot. You get the alarms going off that are warning you, hey, Michael, stop it. Stop it right now. You don't need to go that way, because it will not serve you for the long term. Because we can certainly, I'd be perfect for getting ourselves into a really uncomfortable situation.
Yeah.
Why would I do that?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because we were talking, I have one of the things that we were going to talk about is presentation madness. And so I think I was someplace in between those two places of, like, I work so many hours on those presentations and they're really good. They're actually quite good right now. And they were like 30 slides, and I did the presentation on Tuesday and I went through 2 out of 30 slides.
Universe, good sense of humor. I like it.
Okay. I guess I overdid. But the interesting thing, and I thought, okay, and I was not in a place of joy. I was in a place of joy when I was interacting with people. I was not in a place of joy trying to figure out how to wordsmith and kind of finesse the slides to be like almost independent units on their own. Like someone could actually look at the slides later on and be able to get value out of it. I was not able to do that, but the reason why I got to that level of refinement was because some people want to look at we were talking about stuff that was really vulnerable, and I wanted people to be aware of what we're going to talk about so they wouldn't be blindsided, because it's like, why do you like to collaborate so much, and it's like, well, because I like other people, it's like I like to be competitive, so it's kind of tensions. Like in the PowerPoints, they were all about tension filled environments, and so I wanted people to be aware of it and the questions that we were going to be talking about, the tension. So I was trying to get all the questions down beforehand, but it was someplace in between. Like the desire to get all the questions right was out of a place of love, because I wanted some people not to be shocked out, but it really pained me a great deal to get those, because it meant I have to be a lot more beta testing the questions to make sure they're said in a way that like 5 out of 6 people would like interpret it the right way, not get offended, understand what I'm talking about, and would elicit the response that I was thinking may fall into the realm of, what we would talk about. So I was someplace in between fear and flow. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't in flow. The intention was good. And it felt so painful doing those slides, because it just was paining me. But I really wanted to do the intention of respecting people. So I don't know. It's someplace in between.
Jessica makes the slides for our group coaching, and
Yeah.
for yesterday's class was the most drop dead gorgeous slide deck I've ever seen, and she just really outdid herself. With that said, she looks like she's in pain when she's making them,
Yeah.
and so I'm always saying the same thing to her. You don't have to do this. You can if it's half done, it's what done is better than great, or done is better than perfect. Just I will take care of the rest. You can step back. Sometimes she does. Usually she doesn't. I'm still working with her on this one. It is a dance because she wants to get it beautiful for people, and we're going to be holding these classes for years to come. There'll be refinement to them, and it's a live class, so it's just something to guide us through. But my big thing is, if I feel she's out of alignment, I want to pull the plug. If she's out of flow, I want to pull the plug as quickly as possible to allow her. For both the two of you, I don't like. It's hard for me to watch a loved one draining their batteries.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're out of flow, you're doing some serious battery drainage.
Yeah, that's I felt like exhausted. Like the thought, I've been like, oh, I should update it based on like the feedback that I got. I'm like, oh my God, I can't do it.
Bingo,
Which is
case in point. So it's something to look at. And for myself, that's where I've been trying to draw the line, although sometimes I have to go way past the line with the show. But I'm always trying to say, is this going to drain my batteries? And if so, is there anything I can do about it? Because in the long run, what was the movie I was watching recently? Something of Adeline, the story of Adeline, a woman whose telomeres freeze and she doesn't age for 70 or 80 years. I look at it when we're draining our batteries as we're burning our telomeres like crazy.
right. You're just cutting your life short.
Bingo.
Doing
And I get really protective of that, which is this serving me, oxygen mask on me first? Is this serving me for the long run? Because if it's not serving me, I'm not serving anybody else. And that's how I'm trying to gauge things more, which is obviously you and I are givers. We're going to do the absolute best we can, but we may want to tighten up the parameters of what we'll allow ourselves to give, so we keep more of our energy ourselves to take better care of ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that that's a good way of looking at it. And I think, it's funny, the weird thing about, so for every single project that we do, right, whether it's you and your book or you, and it gives in both directions, right? I mean, you are giving of yourself and offering your heart and your love and your care and desire to help people, as am I when I'm doing this radio show or doing the training. And the gift back for me, at least with these PowerPoints, is recognizing the draining of energy. Like, am I happy that happened? No. Has it happened? Was it better than the last time that I did it? Yeah.
Cool.
Do I still have, you know what I mean? It's
That's all it is. It's an evolving process.
It's an evolving process. And each time you get more and more refined, you get better and better at asking the questions of what am I doing? How am I doing what I'm doing? And how can I change the way that I'm doing it to love myself as much as other people? And that's what I'm hearing as the takeaway for both Jessica and I, right? Is how do we do that in a way that still holds the intention of love, but does not hurt ourselves in the process of giving love. I like it. All right. So what's up? What else is on here? Woo!
Well,
So
we've got. I
about
can mention
change.
briefly the book.
Yeah.
So we haven't really talked about it. I'm so excited about it, which is, we've been talking about doing a Shine Bright book, helping people to shine bright and crank up their inner flame. We've got basically a whole series that are like the tsunami of energy behind us, but we're actually going to do it on automatic writing. On teaching people how to do automatic writing and all the challenges with it, the technique behind it, when to do it, how to do it, all this stuff. And it has been really, because this is something we've worked with our clients for years, and I think somebody recently called it I can't even remember what, not cornerstone, but something like it. It's the thing we like to teach everybody. Step number one is coaching, is let's teach you how to do automatic writing to get in touch with your intuitive side, to hear what's on the inside. And going through this process has been, wow, it's actually been really fun. So I started writing a few weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
and my writing wasn't as focused as I'd like. I think because of the time constraints involved. I like to
Mm-hmm.
give myself big chunks of time to write, and instead I only had like an hour or something.
Mm-hmm.
And you can write a book in an hour a day, but for me, I need time to futz, to just
Mm-hmm.
be there and
Right.
be with the keyboard and see what comes up. That wasn't working so well. And I'm like, Jessica, do you want me to read to you what I've written? And she's been my editor for years, which she will not be anymore. And she's like, no, no, please don't do that, because I've written some big bloated whales that then had to get
Right.
trimmed down and trimmed down and trimmed
Right.
down. But what she did is we got me to a place in my automatic writing, and then she just started asking me questions,
Mm.
and the answers came out. And so
Mm.
she could almost interview me. Maybe it's the time behind the mic. She could interview me, and these nice, short, concise answers started coming out on the page.
Yeah.
It's so cool, CJ. The book writes itself when we have these nice, tight, pointed questions from her.
Right. Right. You know, my friend, that's how my friend wrote his book. He had someone ask questions because he's like, I can't just sit down and write, because when I do that, you get into your head and you start spinning around in different directions versus just saying, like, asking someone to ask you a question. And she would just, they would take transcripts of what the interview was, and that was the source of the book. She just edited the transcripts.
Very cool. So in this sense, we're
And that's what
deconstructing
Paul
our
Selly
whole
does.
way. Yeah, this is in a sense like Paul Selig. I don't have my automatic writing to the level of his channeling ability. Paul he can say something in one town, in one country one day, throw him in another town, another country, a week or a month later, and there's chapter 1 before and now chapter 2, just recordings of his talks, and they're perfect linear flow as if not a minute had passed between them. It's wild.
Yeah, it is.
And I don't have that kind of whatever down, call it maybe clear connection of his
Right.
40 or so years of doing that.
Channeling, yeah, he does a ton of he's been doing channeling for a long time. But
So,
that's
so I
very
need,
exciting that you're
it
doing that
is.
book. And I like how you've developed a process that is nice because it's a connection time for the two of you. I don't know if that's is that as exhausting for Jessica as editing the book?
I think she's actually excited about it.
Oh, good.
The idea of editing is beyond repulsive. She's lost years of her life on it, and she's like, I'm stuck with your voice in my head. This is years gone by, because we also did an audio program, so she was literally
Right.
stuck with the voice in my head.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
but this is clear and more concise, on point. It feels right to her. She feels as called to this topic. Actually, when we were discussing topics a couple months ago, she said automatic writing. I'm like, intuitively, yes, that's it. And then we were walking a couple weeks later, and she's like, automatic writing, and I'm like, no. And that was my head getting in the way, saying, do you want to be known as the automatic writing guy? Do you want X, Y, or Z? What about your blah, blah, blah? But
Right.
it's the most helpful tool we know.
Yeah.
Period. I recommend it to everybody. If there's one thing I say, go back to your automatic writing. You're going to learn about yourself. Want to find your direction? Go to your automatic writing. Not sure of the decision? Go to blah, 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 blah. So why wouldn't it be what we write about first?
Right.
So
Right.
I came back around to that, and if you know Jessica at all, then you know that she's going, I told you.
Well, that's the hard
Yeah.
thing. Is sometimes, like, it's just like you're hearing, like, my husband will say, "I told you." I'm like, it's weird because I do believe that you did tell me. I don't. It's not like I don't believe it. It's just that it takes me a couple of different times to hear it, and then finally, like, I heard you the first time, but at some level, I didn't hear you. It didn't resonate. It was just kind of like, that's automatic writing. It's like, like you kind of hear it quickly,
Yeah.
and then the second time, you're like, you did hear it at some level because you're kind of processing and thinking about it. And then it takes a while sometimes. It truly does. Well, that's really exciting.
So
Can I
it
share
is.
with
So
you my
please,
last?
please. Absolutely.
So And just one thing about vulnerability, or one thing about automatic writing too, is that it's interesting because I don't know if you do this, but I read through the things that I've written. I'm like, oh my God, that's just profound. Like sometimes because I'm so in the zone when I'm writing it, it's not me, it's my higher self writing it that I sometimes don't remember until I read back. So each week I read back the last couple of entries to just see, because sometimes I forget it entirely.
It's interesting. However it works, you end up getting in the zone like you're talking about.
Yeah.
And when you're in the zone and writing, part of our process is a review. Every time you write, later in the day you review. And the reason is sort of like if you're in a master's program, they tell you, well, if you want to double your retention from your class, then you need to rewrite your notes afterwards. The interesting thing about automatic writing is you're in kind of a sleepy, hypnagogic, not fully present state. So by definition, you're not going to remember clearly what you wrote.
Right.
So the way to get the best bang for your buck, just like you're saying, is you have to go back to it.
Yeah, and read them over and over again. Yeah, yeah. So this week I was in my PowerPoint madness, and I was so busy, and didn't realize that I had this book to do a review on.
Yes.
Today.
The Art of Surrender, for people who can't see.
The Art of Surrender. And then I had another book on LinkedIn. And then I had another book
Oh, wow.
on Jude Caravan. Have you ever interviewed her? Probably not. I don't. Her book was about the cosmic hologram, and it was about quantum physics.
Has she done, the name's familiar. I don't believe I've interviewed her yet.
Okay. She's from Great Britain, but anyhow. And so I was so busy with these PowerPoints. And the next day I was like, oh my gosh, I have to read this book on LinkedIn, which I'd read like that weekend knowing that this would have occurred. And then I looked at my calendar on Wednesday. I was like, oh my gosh, I have an interview with this woman about quantum physics.
I was just tightening up as you were going. I'm going to look at my calendar. I'm going,
oh, I was like, I have to talk to her about what quantum physics. I was like, oh no. I had interviewed Amit Goswami about his book on quantum physics, and it's not easy stuff to read. So I started
Amit stuff, not easy to read. Awesome guy. I love him. Not easy to follow when you speak with him, particularly if you're not right up there on his topic.
Yeah. So then I started getting re-traumatized from my experience doing that last time. So
we love you, Amit.
Oh, we do love you. But I have to say, I was like, oh my gosh. And I thought, this is tomorrow. And I thought, okay, I'm going to read the first chapter of the book. And actually, it's beautifully written. If you're ever going to read about quantum physics and understand it, this is the book to read. So I started reading it. And I
believe we have him back on the show in just a few weeks ourselves.
You do? Okay. So I started, this is Jude Caravan. Her book was beautifully written.
Okay.
I was reading. Yeah. So I was reading it. And then I looked and I was like, there are 12 more chapters. I just can't do it. I don't have the energy because I gave all of it to the PowerPoint. I gave it the office at the PowerPoint. And so I thought, I'm just going to muscle test which chapters I should read. And then I read through it, and it's actually the last chapters that she wrote I could really resonate with. Mm-hmm. But even then, there were a whole bunch of terms like entropy and thermodynamics and, non-local communication. And I was like, just freaking out. And then finally I thought, you're not going to be able to communicate this stuff if you're in this mode. So in the act of vulnerability, I wrote her and I said, I'm very sorry. I was not very good in science when I was a kid, and I'm still have a very hard time grasping these ideas. So please talk to me as if I'm 10 years old, because I'm reading this stuff and I'm sorry. I've read it before, and it's very hard for me to understand. But here are the questions that I'm going to ask, because here's what I do know. I know about consciousness. I know about, the kind of topics that you're talking about. So could we still talk about these areas? And would you step me through this stuff as if I was a 10-year-old? Because I really need to do that. And she did, and it was one of the most beautiful interviews that, it was just such a nice connection. I hadn't read the book because I probably could have, but even if I did, I probably still wouldn't have understood it. And that act of vulnerability, saying like, I'm sorry, I just can't. Like, it's going to be an act of harm for me to like try to cram in this book, and then I'll get all tight and unclear and confused, and I just have to tell you, I don't know what's going on. Please coach me. And it was
That's
beautiful.
awesome.
Yeah, and the same thing with this book, because I was like, oh my gosh, I love the idea of the art of surrender. I don't have enough time right now to finish this book, but I do know some areas that I would like to understand more about Islam, and I just focused on that, and it was also so enriching. Both of these experiences move from because I didn't know I had the interview on Thursday. And then I thought, what do I have tomorrow? I know I have a Michael interview, and I'm like, ah! I also had before that at 9 o'clock. I'm like, what?
Aw.
So I got home like at 8 last night, and I was like, I can't do anything. I'm 8 o'clock. I'm totally burnt out. It was like the craziest day yesterday. Wonderful things happened, but crazy. And I thought, I can't do it. So I'm going to have to ask her the questions that I came up with a couple weeks ago, just about that I ran by her, because I said, I just want to make sure I don't blindside you. Here are the questions I'm thinking about asking about Islam. Are you okay? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to have to ask her these questions. And that act of vulnerability of like not being able to do it, not being able to do it in the way that I would like to ideally do it, and saying like, I'm sorry, I just can't. And the beautiful things that occurred as a result of it is just the power of vulnerability, I think. So that's my only last point for this week.
It's vulnerability, it's humbleness, it's keeping the cup empty rather than full, it's asking for help. These are all huge.
Yeah.
And then you got rewarded with the most beautiful interviews.
Yeah. Yeah. So life sometimes works.
Woohoo!
Any final words from you?
Just breathe deep. I know I've said that before, but as you're going through this, if you hit that point where you've got the extra interviews coming up and you don't have the book, when things are being torn down and the whole world seems crazy around you, I truly believe everything is happening through us and for us rather than to us. If we put that pause in there, we put that breath in there, we can step back enough either to see it or at least stay sane during that moment, which can help us to allow things to unfold.
Mm-hmm.
If we allow, it's just we read The Art of Surrender.
Yeah.
If we allow this to happen, if you allow the backyard to be, even through the tear-uppedness, a beautiful structure and backyard is going to appear.
Yeah.
And you will love it. You're going to love it.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think I'll go back to some of the things that you mentioned earlier too. I think the art of surrender is about letting go of your beliefs too, right? And what you think it should be, and having faith that what is going to emerge which is exactly what happened, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, it's going to emerge as awful, but I just let go of all of those things because there was nothing to do but surrender because I just didn't have enough time and I would not have been able to do a proper job. So
a last thought on that is if you see somebody, you're looking at the backyard as if the patient's in the middle of surgery. And if you see the patient when they're sliced open, it's pretty grisly and gruesome. But what you might not even, and you might, if you look at that, go, oh my God, what's happening to this person? But in context, if you knew that this was actually the surgery that's saving their life, then this is the most beautiful thing. And once they started sewed up, whoo-hoo, hallelujah.
Yeah. Seeing the vision, the big vision behind everything. Love it. Wow. We both are going through so much right now. It's fascinating.
Good times. All good times.
Very good times.
In the deconstruction and craziness.
Yeah, I love it. Woo!
Woohoo! All right, that's all I've got, CJ. You good on your end?
I am good on my end.
So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler and
CJ Lou
saying, be well, have fun, deconstruct the old, keep a vision for the new, and shine bright. Woohoo! Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like below. Also, leave your comments. Have some real fun with it. Subscribe to our channel where you're going to get more great videos, more interviews coming up. And check out our website, inspirenationshow.com. That's where you'll find tips, blogs, information, videos you won't find anywhere else, and useful and helpful resources really help you kickstart your life and to shine bright. Thanks so much again. Thank you for your support. Like, comment, subscribe. See the website. Thanks so much and have fun. Of course, shine bright. Woohoo!